It's Monday, May 18th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we're talking about ad blocking, and I was delaying because I forgot what we picked as our show.
The crab people idea.
Let's do this. Yeah, we have another idea. We might do a show next time on VPNs, but I got to read up a little bit to remind myself of some things.
It's not a thing you work with very often.
Yeah, I used to. Like, that used to be my job. I was like, hey, let's set up a VPN. Is the second phase up? What's going on with the time? But now I don't care. I have people who do that for me. I just say things like, yeah, open a VPN between those two things. So we'll see. It could be an interesting show. I could do a show on the fixed protocol, because I know you guys are all fascinated by it, but Scott doesn't want to do a show on it.
Should we just do a show on every single protocol there is? Because we can just, let's go to any industry. I'm sure there's like a medical protocol that like those computers use to exchange medical records. I'm sure there's a protocol.
But there's a big difference. Is there a protocol like that either of us knows fuck all about?
I'm just saying there's plenty of protocols that I know. FTPs, SFTP.
Do you really know FTP?
Yeah.
Do you know FTP fully? How many ports does FTP open and in what directions?
It only really needs two. Sending and receiving.
Well, it's not sending and receiving. It's data and control. You don't know shit about FTP.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not.
FTP.
No, Scott. FTP is actually, like, if you use it, kind of overcomplicated and fucked up. And to this day, most young people I know in the industry, like just in general, cannot set up a firewall to let FTP through properly. They don't know the difference between passive and active FTP. It's a giant nightmare.
But I can do that.
What's the difference between passive and active FTP? It has to do with how you can open the firewall in which direction, depending on who initiates which of the two connections that need to be open. FTP will fail in mysterious ways if you don't know like the weird details of what's going on down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
maybe we should do a show on FTP.
So how many protocols are we going to do shows on? It's going to be a Monday night protocols.
Let's name. So what are all the protocols that we know, like either of us know enough to talk for at least 20 minutes about? I got FIX,
HTTP,
NTP,
SSH,
FTP.
Something else that ends in P.
I can talk a little bit about TibRV, the middleware.
TCP, IP.
I know a little bit about Tervella and Solace, but they're just middleware. They're not that special.
There's probably a lot more if I would just think of them.
XML-RPC. It's not really a protocol.
It's not really a
transport.
protocol so much.
Yeah.
It's just a standard.
Yeah.
A protocol is like one,
Well, no, you know what? Actually, that show, we have to get into the differences, like the difference between a transport or a semantic or like what we're, there's a lot of components.
The meta show, let's talk about protocols.
That's actually a pretty good idea for a show.
No, it's not.
I think it's an okay idea.
Let's go on to the news.
All right. So in the news, this is kind of an aside, but Scott kind of makes fun of me sometimes because I will often, even if, there's news in tech, but I'll usually go link to, when we do the show, like in the show notes, to the Slashdot article about the thing, mostly because Slashdot articles don't disappear, unlike every fucking other thing we link to. And two, usually, in the past at least, the comments would have a lot of like, oh, by the way, here's the technical reason why that article was completely wrong. Like a lot of smart stuff would be down there. And also, usually they'd link to a bunch of different sources of the news and a little bit of commentary. So like it was a good landing place for our links. But as time has gone on, I feel like, obviously, like Dig and Reddit and all these things came and went and came again. Slashdot has not been the most growing and active community on the internet, to put it lightly. Slashdot is a relic
of growing
of the late 90s at best.
Mm-hmm.
So I've suspected for a long time, and I kind of noticed that when I was on Slashdot in the 90s, and then like at RIT, Slashdot was like people on not the bleeding edge, but the cutting edge of technology. Like people knew shit about brand new shit. And there was a lot of like, well, we'll just do crazy stuff in the future and fast computers and like mod my body, technology, let's go. Fuck the consequences. I feel like the exact same people are now on Slashdot, and they're all in their 40s, and now they really want to slow things down. Like, they're not as comfortable with new stuff, and instead of being forward-thinking, they're backward-thinking, and they want all technology to be like it was in the 90s.
Why I'm sure someone must have researched why people become conservative when they get old.
Is it because they get more conservative?
Why can't we do this? Because clearly it doesn't happen to everyone.
But like Slashdot, you'd think like
why can't we undo this?
A lot of us nerds like to say like, oh, techie, computery people, it doesn't happen to. I think it happens to them at the same percentage as everyone else.
Yeah,
I think it's just a percentage of people flat across the board.
I don't know. How do we prevent that from happening?
Is it because do people actually get more conservative, or were they always conservative, but their baseline was the technology level like just ahead of them when they were teenagers? So when they become adults, now it's way behind them and they're scared.
I don't know.
But in the course of one fucking day, Slashdot like really, well, I guess it's 2 days, but a 24-hour period. Slashdot was batting 1,000 for having an article a day where the comments like exposed really deep-rooted misogyny and racism and just conservatism. Like,
well, I mean, this used to be the site where you would post things like GNAA for funniness.
those are still there.
All right.
But they're all auto-moderated to 0. The GNAA is probably in this article if I go find it.
All right.
I'm not talking about trolls. Trolly bullshit has always been on the internet. I'm talking about, there's an article, men's rights activists call for boycott of Mad Max Fury Road. And it linked to,
That's the news. I heard about that.
So it linked to that ridiculous bullshit of those really psychotic people who feel this
All
way.
right, so that sounds like a good news post. It's pointing out, hey, look, the horrible people don't like this movie.
It should be. A lot of the comments were people saying, oh, those guys don't represent MRAs. MRAs really stand for all these things. And it was basically, it was super...
Did they get downvoted?
No.
Well, see, that's the problem. See,
I used every mod point I had.
You're gonna see posts like that no matter what community you're in.
But the Slashdot community
but
modded
you're
that
only
shit
gonna
up.
if you see upvotes, then you know there's a problem.
Yep. So a lot of really fucked up and egregiously misogynistic things got modded way up insightful. And
so insightful.
Yeah, well, with the C, I guess. So the day before, there's another article. Harvard hit with racial bias complaint. And it was a link to a study showing that Asian Americans, on average, were rejected from Harvard compared to other races. Well, race being a statistical category. We know race doesn't really exist. Basically, they on average had to score 140 points higher on the system than other races to get in.
Yeah, it's probably because there's some. I mean, it's weird, right? It's like it's racist to even explain the truth.
Yep.
But it's true is that, they study harder because their culture is to study harder generally, right? So there's a lot more smart...
I'm waiting for you because you're walking on the edge of that cliff right here.
Yeah, right. No.
Yeah.
I mean, statistically speaking, right? They're going to be smarter and have better grades and do better in school. And there's more of them.
Well,
there's
you know what?
a billion
Actually,
people in just China alone, right? So just population-wise, right? Not counting the cultural emphasis on education and better schools and everything like that. So, they have a quota there at Harvard probably. And they're like, well, we can't, if we just accepted people looking at grades only and not looking at other things, the school would probably be a huge percent Asian.
Now, this was really just an article about, affirmative action and those kinds of issues.
They have a quota, so they got to take only X% of the school should be Asian people. So they only take the creamiest of the crop and meet some people who were Asian and were smarter than some white dude don't get in.
So basically, regardless, it's a very complex issue, but affirmative action and the concepts around it are probably a net positive because systemic oppression over time fucks up whole communities in ways that are difficult to remediate. So I feel like affirmative action is probably a positive force.
Yeah, the person who got amazingly good grades and didn't get into Harvard because some other...
is going to get into Yale and be just fine.
Their life is going to be okay.
Yeah, you're still on easy mode. It's fine. So the top two, first, basically... a bunch of ridiculous racism and anti-affirmative action is all +5 insightful.
Okay.
So
why is it this isn't news that Slashdot is awful?
I bring it up because Slashdot, I need a better place to link to. So I'm curious if anyone out there has a place that has the baseline type of information about tech issues that Slashdot has, doesn't post a bunch of bullshit, and doesn't have link rot.
Well,
'Cause I'd
there's
like
no
to
place without link rot.
Yeah, well, Slashdot has no link rot.
That's the only place.
Yeah. So if there is a place like that, I would like to know about it. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, but what about? I've probably already checked that place out. It probably doesn't do what I need. But anyway, I would like to stop linking to Slashdot because the community seems to be a bunch of 40-year-old, kind of racist, kind of misogynist fat white guys living in basements, or at least basement apartments. Sorry, but that's just how it feels right now. In real news, Microsoft pretty much said to all you people who kept saying, oh, Windows 10 upgrade is going to be free, even for the pirates. No, that's not true.
What? I thought that was true.
No. Quote from Slashdot, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. All that talk about Windows pirates getting free Windows 10 upgrades, not happening. For genuine users, a free upgrade to Windows 10 means receiving ongoing Windows innovation and blah, 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 blah for the lifetime of that device. So you can't upgrade to Windows 10 and then transfer to another computer or anything like that.
No.
Granted, that whole definition of what is a computer is pretty dubious.
That's fine. Just install my Windows 7 again on a different computer and then upgrade that to Windows 10. What are you going to do?
But basically, the article talks about how if you have a pirated version of Windows, it's not just going to freely launder your pirated copy into a legit copy and let you upgrade. It's not going to make it easy to upgrade. A lot of people said that.
No, the news story originally was that yes, even if your Windows is pirated, you will still be able to upgrade it to Windows 10.
Yep.
It just won't be genuine because your current one isn't genuine. And if you want it to become genuine, you'll still have to pay. But you'll still be able to upgrade it and use it just like any other non-genuine Windows.
So they confirmed, that Microsoft made a few days ago this extremely detailed discussion of exactly how upgrades will or will not work for people who have non-genuine Windows. So
right, the same way it does now. Basically, it's not really a change. This doesn't contradict any of the previous information we heard. If there's any news here, it's simply that people didn't read what they originally wrote, so that they had to write it again in even clearer language for the dum-dums who don't read.
Yep. So if
for them to not read.
If you were at all confused about what's going on with Windows 10, read this. And two, as an aside, if you're avoiding upgrading to Windows 10 or you're afraid of it and you're Windows 7,
you're not really going to have much choice. I mean, I've been using Windows 7, probably just going to go Windows 10.
You know what? You know what my philosophy is? Whenever I get a new computer, whatever the newest version of Windows is what gets installed on that thing.
So people always be hating on Windows versions. The only Windows version that deserves any real hate is Windows ME.
Yep.
Even Vista totally worked. I had no problems with it. I don't know what people were fucking complaining about.
I bought Windows fucking 2000 right when it came out. I was proud. That was a great OS for its time.
That's right. Windows finally has the right idea, though, not charging you a fucking fortune to get Windows, right?
Exactly.
Windows should be free, and then they should charge you for,
it's interesting how a lot of people suspected that Windows would get cheaper or something like this would happen if Linux on the desktop became a serious competitor.
Nope.
But yet instead, this all happened basically right after we put the last nail in the coffin of Linux on the desktop and buried it under some rock and rubble.
OS X is the competitor.
Yeah.
Also, non-computers.
So you got any news?
I do have a news. So So this story is really interesting. It's sort of obvious once you think about it, but it's like you don't think about it until you hear the story. So there was a drug dealer. And the drug dealer was smart, right? He was a smart drug dealer. They
hide those drugs in the stove,
They couldn't catch him, right? His drug dealing website was all encrypty and whatnot, I guess. They had a hard time finding what he was all about. He had a pretty secure action going on. But what they did is, I think they bought some drugs from him, or they got him to buy some drugs from them. And they sent the drugs by USPS because drug dealers, they just deliver their drugs by driving around or by delivering through UPS. You go to UPS, they say, are there any hazardous things in here? You say no, and then they mail it. They don't inspect every freaking package, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they got him to buy something or if they bought something from him, but they basically had it shipped by U.S. Postal Service, which the government has access to, and they checked the tracking, right? The package had tracking. So, okay, someone shipped a package. It was being tracked. how do we find the person? It's not like they put their return address on it, right? You don't know. They went to the post office and mailed it. You don't know where they live or whatever. I guess they could have checked the cameras at the post office, but they don't know that either. But they went to see, someone went to the website to check the status of the package.
Oh.
And they checked the logs of the U.S. Postal Service website, and they saw which IP address visited to check the status of that package. The only person who had the tracking number, the person, I guess, the drugs are going to or from or whatever.
Wow, you know what?
And then they went to the ISP and were like, hey, who's that IP address belong to? And then they went, boom, we got you, drug dealer.
That is actually very similar.
Nothing illegal or shady about that whatsoever.
That's very similar to the way you can detect if someone is, sniffing packets from your network to spy on you.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch your DNS servers for requests to find out the names of IP addresses that no one's using because you're putting fake traffic on network segments to see if anyone looks into it, because if someone knows that IP, they've been snooping around.
Yep. This is why, Cloudflare?
Yeah, I know Cloudflare.
So Cloudflare is basically like the number one company in terms of, I don't want to have to deal with blocking bots from hitting my website or going down because I'm getting flooded with traffic. And basically the way they manage to do this is that they handle so many different people's web traffic that they are able to, basically when one person gets attacked, they can build a defense for that attack and apply it to everyone who's using Cloudflare. But when you use Cloudflare, you make them your DNS server also for reasons like you just said.
Yep.
So that they can see the DNS requests coming in, and that additional information is what makes their blocking so effective.
So anyway, things of the day. So I have a map here. Scott saw it from the distance. He was like, "What's that map?"
It's a map with a bunch of
of triangles on
those
it.
are poops. Those aren't triangles.
Those are triangles.
Is that
of
like
poop.
someone went around town pooping, and that's
These are the most popular places in Miami where human beings just poop in the street.
Oh my god!
That you can see some.
Wait, Miami. So Florida man
is pooping. Florida man really likes to poop at the corner of Fraser Avenue and Northeast 2nd Avenue.
There must be something there.
No, Fraser Street.
You should use Street View on that map and see like what kind of object there is people can get behind.
Yeah.
Is there like an alley or maybe a dumpster that they can get behind?
The Scatological Atlas.
Okay. The Scatlas?
Yeah, so I would like to see something like this for New York City.
New York City, mostly you get people peeing on trees and whatnot or in door frames because, like, you're a taxi driver, you drive around all over the city, and you can't pee in your car, really, and there aren't a lot of public bathrooms here to use, and, it's like you got to get out of your car.
You pee in a milk jug, and then at the end of the day, you leave it in a dumpster. That's how you do that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of peeing situations in New York.
Yeah. Pooping is another level, though. Now, actually, this is sort of a social justice thing in the sense that they're trying
Get public bathrooms.
They're trying to bring attention to the fact that most of the people doing this are homeless people.
Yeah, when there's no public bathrooms.
Who are also possibly mentally ill.
Yeah.
And there's no help for them either.
Of course not. But
And
Miami's
no
a good
one-
place to go because
And no one gives a shit.
If I was homeless, I'd go to somewhere like Miami where it's warm.
Yeah. I would not go to Miami though. I would not go to a place.
I'm just saying somewhere warm.
Yeah, but I would not go to the place where all the other homeless people are. But then again, I have the luxury of being smart and not mentally ill. So I could figure things, like I can make a plan that a lot of these people really can't.
I mean, seriously, at worst, you'd be that, homeless teenager. Well, not teenager anymore.
I'd be that creepy old guy hanging around a college
You'd be in the
campus all
public
time.
library and the Starbucks with your internet,
Yup.
being homeless,
Yup.
right? Anyway. Hanging
So
in
yeah,
the
this
park.
was an interesting thing.
All right. So this is just an image of a tombstone or part of a tombstone of someone named Kay. I don't know the rest of their name. But the tombstone has a recipe on it for Kay's fudge. And I kind of want to make Kay's fudge.
Oh.
So I guess they got the recipe over Kay's dead body. Well, it says on the tombstone, wherever she goes, there's laughter. So this is probably like an amazing fudge bacon lady, Kay. And would have been a good person to know. And that's an awesome tombstone.
You gotta have a sense of humor about death.
I would have a tombstone like that if I had some sort of secret to reveal that would be useful to people who didn't know who I was and came around the cemetery years later.
Yeah. So in the meta moment, the book club book is still Watership Down.
I read some of it yesterday.
Like
when halfway.
When you're done with it, we could watch the movie too.
Yeah.
It's an animated movie. It's short.
I know. Yeah.
Short and good.
Yeah.
And then we can do a show on it.
Yeah.
And then we can do the next book club book, which is...
dangerous.
But you're not going to tell me what it is?
I'll tell you after we finish Watership Down.
All right. Just be careful. Careful, son, because Le Comte de Monte Cristo is hanging out with his friend Dumas, just waiting for an excuse.
Okay.
And also, we don't have any conventions till Kineticon.
That's sooner than you think.
You should go to Kineticon.
Kineticon is really soon.
Yeah, it's
like
in July.
And it's already end of May.
It's a great con. Like, we would go to it even if we weren't running the panels department.
I wouldn't.
And giving
If
lectures.
you need an airplane to get there, I would not go. If you can
Yes.
get there with a car, it doesn't matter what kind of geek interest you have. If you can get to Kineticon with a car, you should.
Yeah.
It's worth your weekend. Even in the summer, it's worth your weekend.
Yeah, I would. Well, we did go before we were running all these departments. We had fun every year.
I should just quit working and then just play games all the whole. Kineticon.
I know Kineticon is a better tabletop than most gaming cons. It's kind of amazing.
I should just be like, I mean, if I quit and you keep the job, you'll still like give me a panel, right? So I don't have to pay, and then.
And one last thing, just because it's happening, if you are a friend of ours who is an enforcer at PAX, go look at the enforcer shit because something's happening. A good thing. But don't forget to do the thing.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, don't forget. You don't have all the time in the world to do the thing. You'll be really sad if you don't do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So go to the place and look at the thread and do the thing.
Yep.
I did the thing today.
I also did the thing today.
I want to make sure that all my awesome enforcer friends do the thing.
Yep.
And if you're not an enforcer, and that sounds intriguing, whenever they open up general enrollment again, try to be an enforcer. It's really awesome.
Well, I
and
heard for
fun.
Prime that last year they didn't even because they had enough roll call.
Yeah.
So-
Roll call's still going for another week. So this is the kind of article that someone who doesn't know us too well would see and say, oh, wow, Rim and Scott are probably happy about that. This is the worst idea in the world.
Yes, it is.
European telecoms are considering blocking mobile ads. Full stop. They're considering putting basically an ad block on the ISP to block ads on mobile carriers in browsers.
So I go to a website. I have Verizon phone, right? The website tries to send me over their HTML.
Yep.
And the Verizon website, the Verizon server, before it gives me the HTML, looks at it, finds stuff it considers to be ads using in similar technology to adblock, and then removes them from that HTML and sends me the resulting HTML.
Now, net neutrality is cut and dry. The reason we want net neutrality is because carriers, ISPs, telcos, providers, they should not have any right to fuck with your traffic in any way. I should be able to send whatever poop I want over those pipes. If I break a law with that poop, I break that law and someone comes and gets me. But I can send whatever I want over the pipes.
Right.
They can't differentiate between my brown poop and my black poop.
Yeah, we just talked about the post office, right? If I mail drugs, I mail drugs. The post office shouldn't be messing with what's in my package or changing the address on it or doing anything to it, right? They are a delivery service. Their job is to deliver and deliver only. So your ISP, whether it's mobile Verizon or home Verizon or whoever you got, they should just be delivering the packets you want delivered. The server on the other end will then deliver packets back to you. Everyone's just sending packets. Their job is to send those packets without modifying them in any way, shape, or form. And then whoever receives those packets may respond or not respond as they so choose.
But Rim and Scott, you guys run adblock and you block ads and you talk constantly about how much you hate ads. Why don't you just not care about this?
Well,
Isn't it a net benefit?
That is my choice to block those ads.
Yeah, the beauty of HTTP, the protocol.
Yes.
The whole point of the World Wide Web is that I can provide data with markup. Hypertext transport markup language. I am marking up data with hyperlinks and putting it somewhere so that anyone in the world can go to that place, take that data down, take that markup language down, and display it and process it as they see fit. I happen to take that HTTP traffic and remove ads from it and reformat it before I look at it. Some people don't. Some people change the colors of websites with local style sheets. That's the whole point of the World Wide Web.
Consider like a simple use case. I'm making a website and I put one tasteful advertisement on it. And then I, make a mobile version of that website. And I'm going to go on my phone and test to see if this advertisement is working. Oh, the ad is being blocked by the ISP and I cannot see my own advertisement. And now I don't know what advertisement it is. And it's much harder to get another phone to look at it. And this is just the basic example that I came up with in 2 seconds. So now I can't even see it. There's no way to turn that ad block off. It's not my ad block, right? The ISP is basically fucking with. It's like someone sent me a letter and the ISP opened it up and crossed off a few sentences and sent it to me.
Now,
Even if those sentences were full of bullshit, but that's not for them to judge.
Yeah.
It's my letter. I'll cross out those sentences if I want to.
Now, there's also the matter of intent. If this were some nerdy ISP that was an option among many saying, hey, we're the ISP that blocks ads.
Right.
Cool.
For example, you have a cool nerdy ISP. You can log into their website and enable or disable or configure ad blocking as you choose. They give you a proxy server as a service. That's okay. I could set up my own proxy server on my own, point my phone at it, and block ads my own that way. And if an ISP wants to offer that as an option, that's actually really cool. But to force it upon you is not cool.
So there's pretty much, from digging around a bit, there are at best 3 likely actual motivations as to why they're exploring
Well,
this.
I can think of one.
All right.
You're an ISP.
Yep.
Ads take up bandwidth. You can save a lot of money. I mean, the ads aren't making you any freaking money, right? So if you block them, you're going to save money because they're going to be less data transfer over your lines, all these ads. They're probably losing thousands and thousands of dollars just transmitting ads back and forth.
Counter-argument, bandwidth is actually, especially in Europe, insanely cheap to the point that the savings there would be negligible and probably less than the cost of implementing such a system. Here's my real reasons why I think they're doing it. Either one...
Maybe you think customers will like you more because you're blocking ads and because they don't understand the net neutrality aspect. They're just like, ooh, I'll switch to that ISP or switch to that mobile carrier. They block all the ads and it's way better. It's faster to use my phone and it's all, they can advertise higher speeds and who knows what.
They may be doing this so that they can then sell the ability to sell ads to their mobile customers.
That is very, very not
Anti-ethical?
only that is not only bad, that is possibly illegal, right?
Yeah, well, it should be, but we don't have net neutrality.
That would be like if, someone buys ads in the newspaper and I subscribe to the newspaper and the paper boy not only takes a scissor and removes the ads from the newspaper before delivering it to me, he takes money from the local drugstore and takes a tape and tapes that drugstore's ads over or where the other ads used to be. And now the paper boy is taking a cut from the drugstore.
Yeah.
Right? Fucking over the newspaper and the people buying ads in the newspaper and me. We're all getting fucked by this paper boy.
We have
His job is to deliver that paper in the original condition, and if he fucks with it, he should be fired.
All I can think while you're saying that is $2. Because I saw that movie a bunch of times recently, just randomly.
Okay.
So the other reason they might be doing it is to try to fuck Google. Because
we know Europe hates, this is a European story, right?
Yes,
Yeah, Europe hates Google so much.
Europe has such this ridiculous hate boner for Google. They're basically trying to break Google up. They're trying to break Google's, quote unquote monopoly.
Deal with it.
I mean, I would be more sympathetic if it weren't for the fact that
they only go after Google and none of the other giant companies.
Yeah, well, they went after Microsoft way back in the day.
Way back.
Yeah.
They basically hate the fact that it's an American company, right? If Google was a European company, they wouldn't do jack shit.
Yep.
Right? So the fact that basically Google has a monopoly on search, no question. Sorry, they do.
Well, they don't because there are alternatives that are legitimate.
Just because there
suck.
is an alternative doesn't mean that you don't have a monopoly.
Well, they have a I guess feature monopoly in the sense that Google search is literally objectively superior to every other search in the world.
Imagine if there were 3 car companies. 2 of the car companies are basically selling Yugos, and 1 was selling real cars.
Yep.
That's a monopoly. Just because there's some other competitor, if their product can't really do shit, it
so
doesn't
what's the
count.
line? Is Google being anti-competitive by shutting out anyone who can compete like actively, or are they being anti-competitive just by the fact that they're that much superior and they're free?
Right. There's a difference between being anti-competitive and just out-competing, right? For example, Michael Schumacher, he won F1 championships year after year after year.
Yeah, it's not like he was going to other drivers' houses and like waking them up at night.
Right. Why? Because he's a better driver, right? Well, and also he was in a better car, but they didn't cheat. They were just better. Lance Armstrong cheated. He won. He outcompeted by breaking the rules. Google doesn't break the rules. They're just better at doing search, and no one can do it as well as they do it.
I was going
Europe is now, they didn't break any rules yet, but Europe's strategy is basically make rules such that Google is breaking them. And that is, it's like if they would have come out with the anti-drug rules after Lance Armstrong cheated, or it wouldn't have been cheating because the rule didn't exist when he did it. But the rule did exist when he did it, so he cheated. But Google didn't break any rules while they're doing stuff. Europe just tries to make new rules to make what Google is already doing no good.
There seems to be a sentiment when I was poking around that a lot of people in Europe, at least on like sort of the government-y level, have this argument that Google and ads like that are basically forcing this American culture and this commercialism on Europe, and they should have the right to protect themselves from it.
Yeah, okay, you can protect yourselves from it. Google will just stop serving you.
Yeah. I kind of look forward to the day when Google does what they did to China, where they're like, yeah, fuck it, we'll just be in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
It's interesting because Europe does not have any tech company that exists on the level of a Google or a Microsoft.
I wonder why. Maybe because they keep treating them like this and not doing things properly.
Yeah, there's no real free speech in Europe, and the EU has done a lot of squirrely things like this in the past.
Right, well, it's reasons like this that tech companies are not going to put their shit in Europe, right? If you have, all these kinds of restrictions and poor policies, and I start a tech company, why the fuck would I put it in your country?
Yeah, no, I don't want to put it necessarily in the U.S. either because of the spying, but maybe I'll go to Ireland. That's where a lot of people are putting their data lately.
There are a lot of tech companies going in Ireland. It's not a bad spot.
So the right way to do this is to block the ads at the client level the way the internet was intended.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't seem to understand how that shit actually works. And to this day, it amazes me when I see someone, not to get it, we knew some people who try to argue that it's morally unethical, like to block ads. To which I say,
go fuck yourself.
Is it morally unethical to change the color on a website you're looking at? To use a text-based browser? To be blind and use the internet?
Mm-hmm.
But two, a lot of people who use adblock even, like they download basically something that looks like adblock and is called adblock that is actually just malware. That happens a lot.
The current thing you should use is the uBlock or microblock. That is the current ad block thing that is the right one to use.
So in the old days, like I was blocking ads in the 90s. Like as soon as I had internet, as the first time I saw an ad, I was like, I wonder if there's a way to not see that. Because I grew up in a household where every night, the TV shows like The Simpsons that we watched, someone's job was to record it and pause the recording to cut out all the commercials so that the rest of the family could watch the shows without ads. So we all took turns being the ad blocker for the family.
Yep.
So when I got a computer, the first time I saw an ad, I immediately started editing my host file and maintaining basically a list of IP addresses that ads came from.
Right. So basically this method is the oldest, jankiest method. So your host file is basically something that every computer, every desktop PC has, right? And I'm sure phones have it too. You just can't access it, right? Because it's in the file system somewhere, where you can basically hard code DNS entries, and your computer, your DNS, stack will basically not contact any DNS servers if there's an entry in your host file. So you can go in your host file and type in google.com and some IP address after that, or I guess the IP address comes first. And now if you go to any browser or any application on your whole computer and you type in google.com, it's not going to go out to the DNS servers on the internet and figure out what is the IP address for google.com. It's just going to trust that the IP address in the host file is the right one and use it. So if you, say, find out that a particular domain, ads.rim.com, has a bunch of ads coming from it, and that domain doesn't really do anything else, there's no other reason you would ever contact it, you can just go in your host file and type in, like, Look, 127.0.0.1 ads.rim.com. And now when your web browser tries to make a request to get the ads from ads.rim.com, it's going to hit a server that's not even serving any web content. There's no HTTP server there. It's going to time out and nothing will happen, and you won't see those ads on your browser.
Now, it turned out even back then, there were people who were making large host files that you could download and deploy where they'd already figured out where all the ads were coming from.
Right, because when you're serving up a website, you don't put the ad server on the same exact, machines as that are serving up the web pages.
Unless you're trying to get around that kind of ad blocking.
But even if you do it, it's infrastructurally difficult, and you're at least going to put it at a different path. It'll be like rim.com/ads or it's very, very difficult to have those ads mixed in with everything else at the same URLs so that there's no way to determine based on the domain and or URL path what's an ad and what's not.
So that was the next level of heuristics. That was when ad blocking as software as opposed to hacks started to exist.
Well, it started to exist when they started to make browser extensions, right?
Yes.
Originally, they were just browser plugins. And the way browser plugins worked was that when you typed in a URL, the browser knew how to handle HTMLs, JPEGs, and GIFs, pings, right? Those sorts of things.
You mean GIFs?
Yeah. And it didn't know how to handle, for example, an SWF. So you get a plugin. And now, if the browser hit an SWF, it said, well, I don't know what to do with that. Let me see if any of these plugins that are installed are registered to handle SWF. And it would find one, Flash, and it would say, okay, execute Flash and give it this file to do its thing.
So you'd basically stick a plugin that would grab everything along the way and then use heuristics like there were standard sizes for ads and standard locations for ads.
Right.
So
well,
any image in those locations, it would just not, it would download and not display.
Plugins didn't really block ads because of the way that they work. They were very bad at that. I don't even know if there was an ad block. I'm sure there might have been. But
I used them extensively.
Once people made extensions, right, with the beginning that came around with the first Firefox, known as Phoenix, known as Firebird, known as whatever, right? Once you had extensions that actually allowed you to interact with the browser API and sort of execute JavaScript on every web page and modify CSS on every web page programmatically, then you got to be really clever with the ad blocking. You could be like, okay, you just got the HTML. Execute this JavaScript on this page and like search for anything URLs matching these patterns and replace them with this and search, right? And then render the page after applying that. So now you can really block ads very, very intelligently.
And now you have an increasingly complex set of heuristics to figure out what is and is not an ad based on context. Because in the old days, like, you could just block anything /ads/anything and assume it was an ad. But then
one method I used to use would just be turn off all images from automatically loading.
Yep.
On a whole page. You just wouldn't see any images. And then if you wanted to see an image, you would explicitly click. And that would make the image load.
I did that too. And I also did that with JavaScript. I did that with flashes.
Right. Well, this was in the earliest days, it's like people would just be like, don't use JavaScript because JavaScript is only used to do annoying bullshit. It wasn't have any legitimate use. Right?
Oh, you can't right click on my website, brah.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that technology, like the early ad block extensions, often had options that don't exist in a lot of them today. The one in particular is whether or not to be in stealth mode. So in the old days, they would either not download the ad elements at all to save you bandwidth, or download everything and just not show you
the
ads.
just not showing was what happened with the earliest extensions because they could really just do a lot of CSS modifications that would set like display none on all the containers that had ads. And that was easy to do. It was much harder to stop the browser from making the requests.
Yeah.
It took a while for extension technology and browser APIs to advance before they could do that.
But nowadays, I feel like we need to go back because an increasing number of terrible websites will, if they detect that you didn't download the ad elements, will not display content. Or
I haven't
break.
seen that.
I've bumped into that a lot, and I've been doing some research about it.
What I have seen is people basically putting a non-ad image behind the ad. So if the ad is blocked, you see this thing that's basically like, you blocked our ads, frowny face. And I'm like, tough shit, asshole.
Fark does that. They always have a thing at the top that I've been seeing for years. Let's wait for it to come back again. It basically says, Fark lives on ad revenue. Please whitelist us.
Nope.
Oh, look, it didn't. Oh, there it is.
There
it is. There it is.
Okay.
So, but I've been running into that increasingly, mostly from websites I wouldn't visit. Like, if I go to a site and anything's broken because of my ad block, I just never go to that site again.
Yeah.
But the arms race is trivial to advance. Ad block that is undetectable is trivial to implement. And the technology will go back down that road if ads start creeping in again. Because the kinds of people who run ad block don't fucking want to see ads and are never going to buy anything because of an ad they saw.
Right. So the way the stealth mode worked is that your you would get your browser to still make the request for the ad. So you would, send a GET request out to the web server saying, give me that ad. And then you would just ignore everything that came back. And they don't have any idea that you did that.
No,
right? So as far as they know, you tried to load all the ads, but they don't know that you didn't actually load any of the ads. You just ignored all that data that came through. You didn't let it slow you down. You just blocked it on your port or whatever,
Now that bandwidth
packets.
is cheap and ad blocker blockers, like NJammer jammers, are getting increasingly aggro, we're going to go back to that, and that arms race, ad blockers will always win.
Right. Well, one of the problems here is the
interstitials?
Well, no, it's fraud, right? So the fraud situation is, so the person who's selling the ads, I own the website, right? I want to increase the numbers of people who click on the ads, and I want to increase the number of times ads are displayed.
Yep.
Because then I get more money.
Irrespective of the quality of who sees them.
Sure, and if I could, I would lie to the person buying the ads and tell them a much bigger number than reality to get more money from them. If someone visits my website and blocks the ads, but I count them as having seen the ads, this person who's buying ads from me is now paying for an ad that no one saw.
Yep, but
as opposed to if I just legitimately block the ads, I'm a so the current method, FARC gets screwed over. The advertiser doesn't pay FARC because the ad wasn't seen. With the stealth kind of way, FARC is getting paid, but the person buying the ads is getting fucked because no one's seeing the ads, but they're paying like someone is seeing them. And they have no way to know who saw them and who didn't and what the real number is.
Now, option 2, the first one, the one where the ad just doesn't get downloaded, is better for everyone because, honestly, to this day, it amazes me the number of people who don't run any form of ad blocking. I mean, I see their computers. They always have some malware, and websites look like shit.
Yeah.
And there's garbage everywhere, and there's like pop-unders, and all this crap happens to them. But they live with it. So those are probably the kinds of people who also will, in fact, click on an ad.
Maybe.
Like, the people who go out of their way to run ad block, you're better off having, just pretending they don't exist ad-wise.
Well, yes and no. If you want to increase your conversion rate, right? So if you want to be able to say to an advertiser, you're a website selling ads, you want to be able to say to them, look, we have a 50% click-through rate. If we show an ad twice, it gets clicked on once. That means half the people who visit our site are clicking on this ad. That's a ridiculously high rate. Like a few percent is considered high, right?
But you're right. In that case, you want the people who are anti-ad to just not see the ads. Right. Otherwise, your quality click goes down.
But if
your quality goes down.
Right. So, but that's only a thing. See, different kinds of ads happen on the internet. You got to understand the business of ads on the internet, right? So if I'm advertising some free-to-play game on my website, I'm going to be probably getting conversion rates, are what I want to be high because I'm probably getting paid based on the number of people that sign up and start playing the game after clicking a link on my website. Same thing like an Amazon affiliate link, right? You get paid if people buy products on Amazon after clicking your link. You want conversions. You want people to click. But if my advertiser is Ford, they just want people to see the ad to sort of get Ford in their brains. If your advertiser is Coca-Cola, they just want people to see it. They don't need someone to click through and buy Coke.
But again, if I watch
I'm
going to
be getting paid based on how many thousands of people see it, and I just want that number to be as high as possible. So if people are using ad block, I'm getting fucked because no one's seeing the ad.
But if people aren't using ad block, then the person who bought the ad is now getting fucked because they're showing their car ad to a bunch of people who live in New York City.
They don't care.
Yeah, well, because the real problem is the entire advertising industry, in terms of the internet, is, in my opinion, a huge broken bubble of fake ads.
All advertising industry, period, is a huge broken bubble, regardless of medium.
Well, no, because the fucked up thing is traditional
internet more so.
Yeah, I've seen so many studies that show that traditional car ads and soda ads directly correlate to sales. People are that dumb.
I'm sure that they work to some extent, but it's still a scam in terms of how much they pay for the ads versus, right?
But it's a system where everyone involved in the system they benefit from a positive feedback loop. No one has any desire to introduce the bad news of reality into that system, so it turns into a bubble. The stock market does not have that problem because you can sell short. Otherwise, if you couldn't sell short, no one involved has any reason to say anything bad about any stock ever because everyone wants stocks to go up forever.
Right. So consider this, right? So outside my window right now at work, I'm in Times Square, just a bit north of it, right?
Yep.
There's an ad that keeps changing, and usually it's two big billboards next to each other, and they're usually advertising some hot movie that's coming out soon. So right now it's about Jurassic World, which looks like garbage.
I heard it's terrible.
I'm sure it is. So why is that there? Is there anyone who's going to see Jurassic World after seeing that who would not have seen it otherwise? Maybe a very small number of people, right? Who even notices this thing in the Times Square area, right?
Now, at the same time,
except
maybe,
me because I look out the window, but I'm not seeing it.
Maybe enough people. I mean, spam works. Maybe some people are just that influenceable.
Right. But consider how much it costs to put that up there. You're making what? A few hundred people see it. You're not making up for the cost of those freaking things, right? That is not a cost-effective advertisement, I would not believe,
but arguably,
by any stretch of the imagination.
If it really wasn't to enough of the people involved, then it wouldn't be there. Like, the money funnel keeps funneling.
Right. So this is why. Because you have to understand the people, right, that are happening here. So the first person is like the producer executive of Jurassic World, right? They like the fact that there's an advertisement for their movie in Times Square. They like seeing that. It's for them.
Yeah.
They like seeing it there. Our company buys ads. I'm pretty sure those ads don't do shit. But you'll see people in our company are like, I saw our ad on the Metro North train today, and they'll take a picture of it and post it. And it's like the ad is for the person buying it. They like to see their name in lights, and they're paying to see their name in lights, and they don't give a shit if it sells one goddamn product.
See, now at the same time.
Or they falsely believe it's selling product, and they don't care, right? So,
while I feel on a gut level that you're right about this to a degree, at the same time, there is real evidence.
There is
that a lot of kinds
but that
of ads
is a significant factor, and that factor is what's making up for the fact that the ad is not cost effective, because that extra price premium they're paying for the ad is for, I want to see my name in lights.
There's also an argument that those kinds of ads are holding ground to not cede space to a possible competitor.
That's also true.
If there's no ads for your Broadway tickets, no ads for Broadway tickets at all, then some startup that like gets some people together and does something can advertise in an empty space.
That's true.
In an empty field.
Now,
you're just paying to keep grass in the place that your competitor is going to set up shop.
Right. Now, there's another factor here, right? So that person, for that movie, we all know about movie budgets, right? They got to get the expenses way high so there's no profits. So just buy ads and get the expenses way high. It's movie specific though, right? Not every industry is like that. There's a step below. So this producer, they're not buying the ads themselves. You think they called up Clear Channel to buy a billboard? Give me a break, right? There's a person who works for them, and that person is an ad buyer. Their job is to buy ads. Their job is to spend money. They get a budget, and they must spend it all. If they don't spend it all, that budget will shrink. If the budget shrinks too much, they don't have a job.
Now, remember, there's an unstated assumption that you need ads in certain spaces, so they'll buy them no matter what.
That person's job is to buy ads. That's it. It's the easiest job in the world. You call people up and buy the most impressive fucking ads you can buy. You don't give a shit how much it costs or how effective it is, right? You don't get paid based on that. You get promoted because, look, I got us a billboard in Times Square. Look how awesome I am. I got us a Super Bowl ad. Look how awesome I am. The more impressive ads that person buys, the more they are praised, the more they get raises, the more they get promoted and then move up to some job where they don't have to do shit, right? So, of course, it doesn't matter if you're selling ads. Who are you selling them to? You're not selling them to someone who cares how effective they are. You're selling them to this ad buyer person who just wants the most impressive fucking shit that you can sell them.
Now, you see, there's a couple reasons for this too, though. For startups, for small companies, those ads can get them on the radar of companies that might buy them.
Yeah, they also don't care if the ad, they somewhat care. Everyone somewhat cares if the ads are effective. But mostly the person buying the ads, even though the company as a whole might want the ads to be effective, right? The person who actually makes the decision of what ad to buy only cares about how impressive it is.
But the smart companies, the companies that have really smart people, they're advertising, in quotes, mostly through social media and word of mouth and clever things that aren't just ads on websites.
Yep. I mean, there are people out there buying ads who care about how effective it is, right? Some guy just started his dry cleaning business, and he's going to maybe buy in the yellow pages, right? That's not going to be effective these days.
Yeah,
but
yellow pages.
it's like they actually care about how effective it is. They're going to look and see how many, they're not buying it to see their dry cleaner's name and lights. They want to know, is this getting me more customers? Am I building a customer base with this? And if they're not, they'll stop buying that ad, right? So there's two different kind of ad buyers out there. But these big-time website ones is mostly the I want to see my name and lights ad buyer.
The worst thing now is like Hulu. Like a terrible example is like ads I want to block. Even if you pay for Hulu, they still show you the ads.
Of course.
Like you can't pay to not see them. And the ads are literally 100% for things that I will never buy.
Nope.
So what's interesting is that a lot of ad blocking software can even within the Daily Show and stuff like that in video detect an interstitial ad and skip it.
I don't see any YouTube ads anywhere at all.
Except on mobile.
Except on mobile, right? But I should set up a proxy like I just said.
Yeah.
My own proxy.
So
that I control, not the ISP.
Do these people realize that if they Hulu sometimes won't work now with some ad blocking things, and a lot of video sites try to block it. Google smartly is not on desktops. But if they make it to where ad block gets detected and doesn't work, I foresee a real ad blocking technology, real software that people will use, that it won't skip the ad because it can't. It'll show you random YouTube videos of puppies during the ad. Because I'd rather see that or nothing. I'd rather see a blank screen and nothing and a 1 and 30-second countdown timer than any ad for anything ever.
What if there was no countdown timer at all and you didn't know how long it was going to be? And
I don't know how long
you don't know if it's broken or not.
I don't know how long the fucking ad's going to be either.
Well, no, actually on YouTube and Hulu and most video ads on the internet, they seem to have a countdown that tells you how long the ad is going to be.
So I'll show that. And I'll keep streaming the ad to the hard drive and then dumping it to DevNull just so I keep streaming it so they think I'm watching it. And maybe even have heuristics to detect, does it show a quiz or a survey at the end? Yeah, pick a random answer.
I just don't watch anything on Hulu. That's my solution.
No, yeah. Problem is a lot of good stuff's moving over to Hulu. South Park is all on Hulu now.
I just get it from the Pirate Bay.
I'd rather not pirate, but I'm kind of driven to just to not see ads.
If there's an advertisement, I'm going to pirate. If that's the easiest, I'm going to get things the easiest way that I can get them.
We actually just bought Steven Universe.
I pay money for Spotify. Why? It's easier.
Yeah, we even bought Steven Universe on Amazon just because it was easy.
How much was it?
$20 a season.
That's actually a good deal.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad at all.
Is it you buy DVDs or digital? Whatever?
Just digital. I don't want DVDs.
Me either.
If I got DVDs, I'd just throw them away anyway.
Yeah, no.
So yeah,
that's how that goes. So ad blocking.
Blocking ads.
Block all the ads. Fuck them.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.